and welcome to the 40th Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Let's give a big hand to Ken Janik and the Nebraska Czech Brass Band who are playing the music for your dancing and listening pleasure. Also a hand for the Mike Kushik and the Milligan Czech Brass Band who provided some music as you entered today. They did a wonderful job also. I would like to ask you if you wish to talk to or visit with someone that you step out to into the front entranceway as a courtesy to the inductees and the people around you. Once again this year, the Sokol Omaha Gym Club is selling the food and snacks in the kitchen. The proceeds will be used to offset the cost to participate in gymnastics competitions, and they thank you for your support. The Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame next year will be on Sunday, September the 11th, and the band will be Dean Hansen and his orchestra. Anybody know that band, Dean? The Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame started on October 22nd, 1972, and has been held every year except 1975, 77, and 78. With this year's inductions, there will be 130 inductees, of which 86 are deceased and 44 are still with us. With the past inductees who are in attendance today, please come to the front of the stage to be recognized. Past inductees, all of you. Got quite a group. So in my madness every year when I get ready to do this, I think of some things that might be of interest. So I went back and researched and some induction facts. There is one set of a father, a son, and a grandson whose names are on that wall. One set of a father and his daughter, and they're here today. One set of a mother and son, 3 sets of husband and wives, and 4 sets of brothers. And there's 13 sets of fathers and sons. How about that for some facts about the inductees? Now as I read your name, please stand out and give them a wave. 1981 inductee, Ron Natterny. 1989 inductees, Alan Valish and Dean Hansen. 1991 inductee, Bob Blecka. 1994 inductee, yours truly, Jim Botnicek. 1995 inductee Paul Menoshek, who's up here on the stage with us. 1997, Dean Fornoff. 1999 inductee Kenny Shuda, ladies and gentlemen. 2001 inductee Elmer Nimitz. 2002 inductee Glenn Kocha. 2005 inductee, my partner up here, Ed Sonny Swoboda. 2008 inductee, and my goodness, all 3 of you are here, Ken Janik Jr., Dick Janik Jr., and Bob 2009 inductee Helmut Putler. Also Dennis Pavlik. 2010 inductee Jim Kushka. 2011 inductee Mike Helgeson, Frank Sidley. 2012 inductee Marla Janik. 2013 inductee Lonnie Pitts and Barry Boyce. 2014 inductee and the last person we inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, Tom Hazuka. And also Don and Darlene Clement. Thank you guys. It's sure a pleasure to see you on a lot of guys and gals, I should say. Correct me, Darlene, keep me in line. Anyway, thank you, and you can go back to your seats now. After we secured the Nebraska Czech Brass Band to play, I got to dreaming up of all kinds of ideas to do it, to make it a memorable day about brass bands. So in my research, I found out some interesting facts about the brass bands in Nebraska. The sounds of a brass band have not been trumpeted regularly in South Omaha since Frank Franek's band folded in 1922. Old-timers remember Franek's band as one that played for concerts, political rallies, and gatherings of Omaha's Czech community. Franek's band was organized in South Omaha in 1896. It included 3 trumpets, 3 clarinets, 3 alto horns, a tuba, a trombone, a baritone horn, a bass horn, a set of cymbals, a bass drum, and a snare drum. Then the next band to follow suit of being formed, in 1912, the ZCBJ Lodge Band of Du Bois, Nebraska was organized, and in 1914, a gentleman, Amos Stepanek, with his baritone horn, joined the brass band and soon became the leader. For over 60 years, the band played music from the homeland for lodge meetings, memorial programs, and dances. Under Amos' direction, the band is still active today, with members Donna Swanda, Greg Blecka, Bob Stepanek, Joe Stellick, Bob Hupka, Elsie Tomek, Edna Whitwer. They play annually at the Bohemian Cemetery's Memorial Day service in Pawnee County, Nebraska. The next brass band, and it was a huge one, was organized by a fellow inductee of the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame, Father Ed Cheperon, organized the St. Wenceslaus Band August 10, 1931. To duly respect the Nebraska Czechs, the band traveled throughout Nebraska and also to South Dakota, playing concerts featuring Czech music from the homeland. The band consisted of 37 members, of which one of our inductees today was a member. Francis Menoshek Jr. played alto saxophone. I'm going to let the next guy, I'm going to let Louis Sivek tell you about the next band, because he was instrumental in helping get that band off the road, and they played in front of 1,100 people at this hall back in 1965. Louis, would you come up and tell them about that brass band?
say something about the Brown Park Czech Brass Band sponsored by Oklahoma. Brass band was started 50 years ago. The Central Home Brass Band from Brown Park came about when Charlie Dwyer decided he wanted to start a brass band that would play the old-time brass band music. The last time the music has been played in South Oklahoma area had been back in the 20s. Charlie's dilemma was what musician would he ask to play in this type of band? Brown Park had a lot of musicians. How do you pick and choose and not offend anyone? He decided to combine the Yarok and orchestra bands. When the idea became a reality, the 50 musicians were chosen. We got Oklahoma to sponsor us. Numerous rehearsals were held here at Sokol, prior to her concert. Much of the original music had been handed down to Charlie by his parents who came to the U.S. in the 1912 from Czechoslovakia. He also had tunes sent to him from the old country. He rounded out the band by asking Jim Dwork to be the conductor. Willie Dwork was master of ceremony. The Czech singer was Jim Caesar and Joyce Gotitsky. The sold-out concert of 1100 was held October 3, 1965. At the time it was considered one of the largest crowds ever filled this hall. Of the original 1965 Czech Brass Musicians Band and singers, only 4 are still with us. Rich Floro, Dane Hansen, Tony McCorney, and Joyce Gotitsky Bedell. Before I finish, I'd like to recognize this fine group of musicians from the present-day Czech Brass Band playing for us. Some of the members are third-generation musicians from the 1965 group. They should be congratulated for what they are doing to keep our musical heritage alive. Please give them a hand, the Nebraska Czech Brass Band and the Milligan Brass Band. Thank you very much.
And now we'd like to have Mike come up and talk about the Milligan Brass Band.
You know, I don't have anything prepared here, but I'm just going to do it off the cuff. Our band was formed back in the early 60s, and it was a derivative of the Post Band from the Legion Post Band at Milligan, Nebraska. You know, those guys all came back from war, and they had a nice marching band, and as they passed away or they moved on, the band got smaller and smaller. So there was a group of them, including my father, that says, hey, we've got to do something different here to keep this music going. And so they formed the Legion Czech Brass Band at that time. And some of the members, the original members in that band, I had named them earlier here when we were playing. Delmer Kushka, Bill Slezak, Louis Dale-Schvetz, Rudy Yerkowski. You know, Rudy and Dad played in the band together. And I remember as a little kid, they'd be practicing and I'd have a little toy trumpet, so I'd sit between them and practice with them. Probably humored them, but you know, we had a lot of fun back then. But these guys formed this band. Johnny Holloman. You know, this band's been going on for years and years. And you know, one thing my father instilled in our Czech Brass Band was we always need young players to be infused in the band. And that was his goal. And I think he accomplished it, because from 1961 And here we're 2015, and if you were here earlier, you saw the group of musicians. Great group of musicians. And the reason is because that was his dream, is to keep this music alive. And I wish he was here today, because he worked hard, and his goal was to keep this music alive. And we're going to do that. This brass band's going to do that. We've got young members in this brass band, they're going to keep it going. Right, Galen? Absolutely. Absolutely. We enjoy what we do. It's like an extended family. Ask my mother. Totally extended family. Then there's my wife, Deborah. She's our manager. She's got to keep us all in line and everything. This band has played in Omaha. We've played at Puny Park. We even had music that was given to us by the original Omaha Trek Brass Band. A lot of composers, a lot of arrangers. One of the most important arrangement person we have is Mr. Glenn Kutcha. He's sitting right over there. Glenn has supported our band. He's kept the band alive. I think you gotta stand up. I think everybody in this hall should give him a great round of applause, because he has arranged music for us and he's kept this music alive. Glenn, stand up, please. For those of you who didn't know, Glenn was grew up in Milligan, Nebraska, had bands in Milligan, Nebraska. He was telling me he even played with Dad. That was great. So, I don't know how much more you want to know about the Milligan Brass Band, but we enjoy playing. We're a family. Great bunch of musicians. And Jim, I thank you very much for letting us play earlier. That's a tribute to Dad. I really appreciate that very much. You and Sonny, thank you very much.
In 1975, Bob Polinsky formed the American Czech Brass Band, with the original band consisting of 18 members. After months of rehearsals, the first concert was held at the Appleton Hall east of David City. The next concert was held at the Playmore Ballroom in Lincoln with a full house in attendance. The band continued playing throughout the years with a smaller 12-piece band and introduced the Český Kluci, consisting of Milo Polinsky and Bill Oniel. After Milo's passing, Joe Yendrick joined Bill singing and performing the skits they were more famous for. Then in 1998 came the tragic death of Bob Polinsky. The band played their final performance 3 years ago in Dwight, Nebraska. And now on behalf of the Omaha Czech Brass Band number 2, under the direction of Rudy Dworak, Mr. Jeff Janda will tell you about that band.
Thanks, Jim. In the spring of 1986, Rudy Dvorak came up with the idea that it had been over 20 years since his dad had started the original Omaha Czech Brass Band, and he thought it was time to reorganize and do a reunion type thing. So after about 6 months of writing music and rehearsals, we were ready to perform. And right here, to a packed house, we had Ron Natterney, Fritz Serb on trumpets, Cheryl Janik, Frankie Seelig, Dean Fornoff on drums, I was playing bass, Kenny and Leslie Janik on clarinets, and Gary Burka and Rudy Dworak on baritones. Uncle Rudy Dworak was the concert MC, as he had been in 1965, and the vocalists were Frank Kuska, Paul Menoshek, Dennis Klimesh, and Vicky Ruzek Palmazano. We just had a great time preparing for the first concert. And then the highlight was about a year later, in August of 1987, the band made a 12-day trip to Czechoslovakia, playing concerts most every night with other bands, other Czech bands. And it was just a spectacular time. We played for the International Sokol Slet, which was held in Omaha in the mid-90s. And so we played march music while the Sokol gymnasts did their routines. And then by the late 90s, the band started to wind down. And that was about the end of it then. Until the next chapter, which Jim's going to tell you about next.
Well, he said the next chapter. I'm going to tell about it, but we're going to let Kenny and I tell about it, because after a period of time of no brass band and the love of their music, they formed the Nebraska Czech Brass Band. So, Kenny, would you come up?
It was in 2004 that, after talking with my brother-in-law Jeff, who you just heard from, we really missed playing the music. It's something we always loved, something that was part of our family, and really felt compelled to carry the torch and keep the music alive in this area. So after some rehearsals, we got together in the Papillion Junior High band room. I don't know if I should say that or not, but that's where we rehearsed, and we had several rehearsals, and I believe our first actual public performance was at the Omaha Czech Cultural Club yearly festival at the South Omaha Sokol. I believe that was the first time we played in public. The popularity of the music, as everyone well knows, has dwindled some over the years, and it's been a little difficult keeping some of the younger people interested and involved in this. But we love to play it, and we know there's still people around that love to listen to it. The thing that we do at the Bohemian Cafe every once in a while, a few times, maybe every 3 or 4 months, on Monday nights we play there. And actually I got the idea from some of the jazz bands in New York City that would often do that. On Monday nights they would get musicians together and play some interesting music, things that they don't always get to play. And on Monday nights, that's kind of an off night for most musicians. They don't have a paying job somewhere. So we got the idea of doing these Monday nights at the Bohemian Cafe. And I've really been fortunate to get some fantastic musicians to be involved in that. And the band really started off former members of the Omaha Czech Brass Band. Over 3/4 of the band was made up of members from Rudy Dvorak's band. And we had to add a few more people to fill in some holes. And I think one of the really neat things is we've been able to get people that really had no connection to Bohemian music, brass band music, polka music, that kind of got sucked into it and enjoyed it and loved to play it. So we have some honorary Bohemians that we have part of our, we're lucky to have them as part of our band. They love to play the music and love to share it with you guys. So we plan on doing this as long as we're able, and as long as we have people that want to listen to it. We have a blast playing. Sometimes we have too much fun doing it. But really that's what it's all about. If music isn't fun, why would you do it? That's what I tell my students at school. Music is supposed to be fun. Yeah, there's hard work you have to put into it to make it sound good, but ultimately it has to be fun for the people that play it and then for the people that listen to it. So we're going to keep it going hopefully for a long, long time. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about you. This year, ladies and gentlemen, we are giving a service award to a deserving gentleman, Louis Seebeck. His parents were the late Louis and Josephine Seebeck. Louis and his wife of 46 years, Pat Bosdek Seebeck, met at a dance right here at Sokol, and they live in Papillion, Nebraska. Louis attended Brown Park Grade School and graduated in 1952 from Omaha South High School. Raised in Brown Park, 1 block from South Omaha, Sokol, where his parents, who were members of the ZCBJ Lodge, number 72, worked many events at South Omaha, Sokol. Louis and his dad worked the cloakroom while Mom worked in the kitchen on New Year's Eve. Growing up around polka music with bands like Sparta and Beseda playing at those New Year's Eve dances gave him the desire to be a promoter and an organizer of polka music. In 1955, Louis was asked to join Sokol Omaha by Hall of Fame inductee Vic Casper. He served as a Sokol Omaha Board of Director and on the dance committee. Some of the dance promotions he helped with at Sokol Omaha, the first ever Polish-Czech battle dance featuring Milt Jaworski and the Polonaires, and of course Jim Haworka. Benefit dance, battle dance with 3 Polish bands, the Polketeers, Polonaires, and the Cavaliers. And the first Omaha Czech brass band concert in 1965. The Sokol Omaha Czech Brass Band from Brown Park was organized by Charlie Dvorak, and all the promotion was done by Louis. This would be the first brass band since Frank Franik's band had folded in 1922. He was in charge of hiring Czech vocalist Joyce Kotecki and Jim Caesar. And musicians were basically members, as he said before, Eddie Janik and Jim Haworka orchestras. With Jim Haworka as an honorary conductor, there was also a concert that followed in Wilbur, Nebraska. Louis helped sponsor dances at Sokol Auditorium, Polish Home, and Livestock Exchange when Phil Sorensen was running for governor of Nebraska, and hired the musicians to play for the visit by Ted Kennedy and Governor Connolly. He also was part of the welcoming committee for Lawrence Welk when the orchestra arrived at Eppley Airfield to play a performance at Civic Auditorium in 1965. Louis, for 25 years, from 1967 through 1992, promoted the polka cruises on the Belle of Brownville and the Spirit of Brownville riverboats, featuring 40 different polka bands. With that, Sonny, would you induct Louis Seebeck into the Polka Hall of Fame?
You bet. Lou, I want to congratulate you on behalf of Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame for your dedication, all the hard work you did promoting polka music. We really appreciate it, and you deserve this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you to the Sokol Omaha Polka Fame Executive Board who was likely to receive this service. I'm very honored to have been chosen. I'd like to acknowledge members of my family who are here today, my wife Pat, my sister Lillian Comer, and nieces and nephews Mary Bergman, Joanne Cortese, Jenny and Sam Hayden, Joe and Mary, and Steve and Marion Foreman. Thanks to my family and all of you in the audience for attending this Hall of Fame program today. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Now, as we have done in the past, I think 3 years, maybe 4, we have a deceased category, and that's musicians who've been on the list for a long time and just weren't inducted, and so we vote for 2 people every year to be inducted so that we don't have a list of deceased people over here and a list of people that are still with us. But the late Francis Menoshek Jr. was born on October 2nd, 1914, Omaha, Nebraska. His parents were Francis and Marie Menoshek. Francis was married to the late Rose Pavlik Menoshek. He is survived by sons Paul, who's here on the stage, Bill, who is here. Bill, would you stand up, Bill? Oh, there he is. Okay. And also daughter Joanne, who is here. There's also 2 other sons, John and Marty, who were unable to attend. Francis attended grade school and high school in Omaha and graduated from Omaha South High School. Francis got his first instrument, an alto saxophone, at age 16. It is unknown if he had any music education or played in the high school band. At age 17, he began his professional playing career playing with the Golden Prague Orchestra from Omaha. Francis served in the Army during World War II as a staff sergeant technician with the 5th Army in Africa and northern Italy. After the war, he married Rose and they began raising their family in South Omaha, where he worked as a printer at the Livestock Press Stockman's Journal in South Omaha. Francis loved polka music and played for dances. He would share stories of late night rides on icy roads in the band touring car, playing on flatbeds for outside dances, earning a quarter a night, or the take from the door, and getting up early to play live radio broadcasts before work once a week on station WAAW in Omaha. He also wrote arrangements for the bands he played in, using only his alto, his memory of a polka or waltz he had heard, and his ear for harmonies. He played on Father Ed Chaperon's band, the St. Wenceslas Concert Band, Golden Prague, Koshka Brothers, and Frank Kazuka. His only studio recording was with the Koshka Brothers. Francis passed away on September 15, 1988 in Omaha, Nebraska. Sonny, would you induct Francis Menoshek Jr. into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
Paul, it's my pleasure to present this plaque on behalf of your dad's contribution to polka music. I know your dad, he was a fine musician. Please accept this award on behalf of the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sonny. I want to thank the Sokol Omaha for sponsoring this event, also the Polka Hall of Fame Committee, and the previous recipients for voting for my dad. As Jim said earlier, 20 years ago I stood here and I also was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I don't remember much of what I said at that time, but I do remember saying that I didn't deserve it, my dad deserved it, because everything that led me to that point was because of him and his influence on me and his love of polka music. So this has a particular special meaning for me. I feel like it's a final tribute that finally has been achieved. So again, I thank you for that. Dad, to me, in my memory, he was kind of a quiet guy, not very flashy. I've had several people come up, musicians come up and say they played with him various times subbing, so maybe they have different stories I'm not aware of. But what I remember of Dad is he let his music do the talking. He loved to play his alto, and he played it with a lot of love and feeling. I've heard, as Jim mentioned, a number of hearing stories from Dad as I was growing up. Those flatbed dances, they would form a circle, probably out on a county dirt road someplace or in a dirt road in the city, and everybody all would turn their headlights on in a circle so they could have some way to see who they were dancing with. I remember him telling about rainstorms coming in the horizon and everybody running for cover. I do remember the icy roads, and I'll get back to that in a minute, because there was a band accident that did happen. And the radio station back, I don't have a lot of pictures of Dad, but there's a couple of postcards from Radio WAAW with one with his touring car, with the different members, probably when he was in his 20s. So, and apparently he told me the names of some of the members because I wrote them down on the back, so I typed them on the bottom. Several of those members are already listed. So again, I'm glad Dad is making that, going to make that board too. So, some of the memories I have, personal memories I have. And I probably said this 20 years ago, I have a vivid memory of being down at Sokol Park, down by the Platte River there, but south of Plattsmouth. And those music fronts, they sit about that high, and I kind of remember standing there with my nose just above that music front, Dad pointing to notes. At the time I had no idea what he was doing other than getting me hooked on polka music. He started me on clarinet when I was in 3rd grade along with my older brother John. Both John and I have the pleasure and the fond memories of playing next to Dad at the Kuska Brothers Band. And so that was very special for us. This writing music stuff, so if you don't know me, I've done a lot of that. My first memory of that is Dad sitting at the kitchen table with the saxophone, a pencil, some music, and squinting and closing his eyes and trying to listen as hard as he could, and then playing something that he thought might be right and scribbling it down on some notes down on that paper. It was a big treat for him when he finally got a reel-to-reel recorder that he could take some music off of. The other memory I have of Dad is he was probably one of the original powerhouse alto players, and he had a secret weapon. He played plastic reeds that he ordered especially from California. If you've never played a reed instrument, it vibrates on your lip. And that plastic reed gave him more volume, and so he was a loud sax player because they didn't have microphones when he started. But those reeds, I still have some. I have the privilege of playing his saxes, and I put one of those on once and tried to blow it, and I think my lip would have bled for weeks if I'd have played a couple songs on one of those things. So, but that was his secret weapon, so I remember that too. And another thing is when reel-to-reel came in, and then other people, musicians, would be able to record live jobs. So I've been lucky enough to get some live recordings of Dad playing. The thing about him is he never put his horn down. So if you have 2 trumpets playing, he would jump right in and play what we call the third part, or fill in the harmony. So he just kept playing and playing and playing, whether it was what he was supposed to be doing or not. So this place is special in Dad's life and in my memories. He grew up a half a block just south of here. He set pins downstairs when there was a bowling alley down there. I think he said he got a nickel per line. That's probably how he bought his first saxophone. As Jim has done some investigating of history, I've done so too. Jeff Janda is quite the, not only musician, but polka historian. So he looked up Dad's bands on the World Herald. He also steered me toward an article on the University of Nebraska-Lincoln website entitled Czech Music in Nebraska. So just a little bit more to fill in some of the things I found out. Father Cheperon, St. Wenceslaus Church is about a block to the west of the Bohemian Cafe, just down the street. So he started a Smetana orchestra. There was a Smetana club there, and he started a Smetana orchestra in 1928. And Dad would have been about 14 then. I don't think he was a member of that. But from that group came the Golden Prairie Orchestra and the JK Orchestra. So a lot of local musicians, young fellows that got involved with that. The band that Jim mentioned, the St. Wenceslaus band, started in August of 1931. Their first performance was December 6th at the Catholic Sokol Home. And Dad is listed as one of those members that played at that dance. The group expanded later, and in 1933, according to a World Herald article, they played in front of 350,000 people at the Chicago World's Fair. Quite a feat. I don't know if any of us can top that are musicians here. He also played at the Texas Centennial in 1936 and the National Sokol Gymnastics Exhibition in San Antonio, Texas. About that accident, I think it was, according to the World Herald, it was before Dad joined the band, and one of the members, James Zaitz, was killed in a car accident that two cars full of musicians were coming home, Golden Crate musicians were coming home from Lincoln, and a truck slid into them on an icy road and killed one of the members. It listed 2 cars, it listed the members, and Dad wasn't part of that, but I'm sure that stuck in his memory, so, because we heard that story several times. So in closing, I think it's very fitting that the man that's responsible for everything that got me into this Hall of Fame is also inducted. So I'm very grateful and proud to accept this. Thank you very much.
The late Leonard P. Kushik was born on May 28, 1923, Milligan, Nebraska. His parents were Albert Kushik Sr. and Marie Rychek Kushik. Leonard is survived by his wife, Arlene Vinolchek, my pronunciation, Kushik, and sons Michael, Dean, and daughter Patricia. Would you please stand up? And Mike is on the stage for you. Leonard attended grade in high school at Milligan Public Schools, where he graduated in 1941. At age 12 years of age, he began playing trumpet in the school music program, and was in the Milligan High School Band from 1937 to 1941. He began his professional career while in high school with the Joe Steiskol Band. Leonard enlisted in the Air Force on December 3rd, 1942, and was attached to the 503rd Fighter Squadron stationed in England. He was discharged on October 18th, 1945. On returning home, he went into partnership with his brothers in the feed mill alfalfa business and New Holland implement dealership. They were also distributors of wholesale beer and soft drinks. On May 21st, 1946, he married Arlene to the union. 3 children were born: Michael, Leonard, and Dean Albert, and also Patricia Marie. Besides playing in many different bands and directing the Legion Band, Leonard was the Milligan Auditorium Theater manager from 1958 to 1962, ordering movies and running the projector with the help of his sons and nephews. In 1962, he was an elected officer of the Milligan Auditorium Board. While there, he was in part responsible for hiring many polka bands and also implementing the Sunday polka matinees and Milligan's Mini Polka Day. How many people remember the Mini Polka Day at Milligan? Yep. Leonard served on the Milligan School Board, where he was president from 1963 to 1970, and president of the Milligan High School alumni in 1954. As a member of the American Legion Post number 240, he served as commander, adjutant, and county commander. He was also a member of the Milligan Volunteer Fire Department since 1946 and was elected to the Fillmore County Board of Supervisors in 1985. After Leonard started his professional career with the Joe Steisko Band, he also played for Henry Steinecker Band, John Olivia Band, his own KST Band, Milligan Legion Concert Band, Rudy J Band from 1956 to 1969, and Milligan Czech Brass Band. Leonard was inducted into the Southeast Nebraska Musicians Hall of Fame and received the Nebraska Czech Music Builders Award from Doane College in 2003. Leonard passed away on November 14, 2003. With that, Sonny, would you induct Leonard P. Kushik into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
Mike, my pleasure to give this award for your remembrance of your dad, all the contributions that he did for the preservation and the promoting of good polka music. And he taught you right. You're a great musician yourself. You bet.
You know, first of all, on behalf of my mother, myself, my brother Dean, my sister Pat, and my family. I mean, my family's here, they're all over there. Really appreciate you coming out. Grandchildren, my children, Dean's children. Thank you for coming out, because this is a real great honor for your grandfather, for my father, and Mom, for your husband. You know, and I would also like to thank all the past inductees and the committee here for nominating Dad and voting him into the Hall of Fame, because he put a lot of heart in Czech music. And he formed the brass band. I think you heard me say this earlier. But he put a lot of work in that, and he has kept it going through youth. He's kept it going through all the players we have here tonight. I also would like to thank the Sokol for sponsoring this event and holding this event. Really appreciate it. I know that many of you knew my father and respected him as a musician. And also, those that you haven't knew him, you can respect him and honor him through our band that we have now today, because he was the most instrumental person to make this band. At this time, I would like to have all the band members that are here today stand up, and I would like to give them an applause, because you are making this tribute very worthwhile. Please stand up, all the the Milligan Brass Band members, please stand up. Thank you, guys. Also at this time, I'd like to have a special recognition to one man that we dearly love, who was an inductee of this Hall of Fame, is Mr. Glenn Kutcha. Please stand, Glenn. I know you stood before, but I mean, this man is, you know, Dad always would come to practice and Glenn would write some music for us, and that's what kept this band going, because we always had some new arrangements. Thanks to Glenn and everything. And you know, we'd probably lay out an arrangement, we'd play it once. Oh, this doesn't sound very good. I said, well, we'll put it off for a while. And then we bring it back, and then they said, boy, this is a great piece of number. Thanks to Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you very much. You know, he accomplished all this because of his appreciation and dedication to his heritage. He was a Czech through and through. And he loved music. And he loved Czech music. And he promoted music. He promoted music in the youth organizations. He promoted it everywhere. You know, I remember the one time Milligan had festivals and everything. I think I was a freshman in high school. And at that time, I hadn't played with the brass band or anything. But I was playing trumpet and everything. And Dad said, you're going to go on the circle with us and you're going to play trumpet. He says, Rudy can't make it, because Rudy Yerkowski was one of the trumpet players there. And he says, he can't make it and everything, but you're going to play. I says, you know, Dad, I've never looked at your music or anything. He says, you're going to play it. So here we go on our little road trip around promoting the Milligan June Jubilee, and we went, of course, you know, we promoted it by going to bars. Of course, I wasn't old enough to drink, but I mean, all the other members were, but we had a lot of fun, and that's when I said, you know, I think I'd like to do this. So in '67, I joined the brass band because of him. And when he passed away, the torch was handed to me. And I appreciate that. What I appreciate is all the members that are here today that pay tribute to him. You know, there's another thing I should kind of bring up here. My mother sits over there. You know, when I was growing up, I can remember Dad played in dance bands, and she always took care of us. She took care of Dean and Pat and I. Dad was off on the road. You know, he'd take off on a dance job, and we might see him in the morning. He might play 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week. But boy, he was up that next morning and went to work. I don't know how he did that, but he did. So, Mom, thank you for your unselfishness, your dedication, and your patience. Thank you very much. And with that, thank you for this award very much. Appreciate it. I'm sure I wish my dad was here, but he's not. But he's got the award now. And he's got the award for the band. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We had our little gathering with the past inductees, and these 2 gentlemen here hold the distinction of being the #2 inductees of the Hall of Fame, bass horn players. 2 of them on the same day. How about that? Anybody out there know who the other 2 were? Rudy Dvorak and Ernie Hovorka. So we got a couple of proteges of both of those guys. Stephen Anthony Sobota was born on April 18, 1968 in Schuyler, Nebraska. His parents, the late Frank, a 2003 Hall of Fame inductee, and Jean Sobota of Columbus, Nebraska. Stephen and his wife, Lynn Marie Sobota, live near Blair, Nebraska. Lynn Marie, would you please stand up? Give her a big round of applause. They have 2 sons, Michael in aircraft maintenance with the Nebraska National Guard, and Stephen, a junior at Blair High School. Would those boys please stand up? Steve attended grade school at St. Isidore Catholic Grade School in Columbus, Nebraska, and graduated from Columbus Discovers High School in 1986. He then graduated with a Bachelor of Science Business Administration degree from Nebraska Wesleyan University in 1991. At age 7, Steve started taking piano lessons, and in a couple of years began playing the pipe organ at daily mass for Sister Joanne at St. Isidore's. He then, at age 12, started playing tenor saxophone. Then at age 14, under the private instruction of his father, he began playing bass horn. While in high school, he played tenor saxophone in the jazz band and bass horn in the marching band. In 1984, he was selected for the Nebraska Bandmasters, a all-state band, the only time he tried out for the band. While in college at Nebraska Wesleyan, he played tenor saxophone under the direction of Dean Heist. And by the way, Steve, Dean is one of the players here on the Nebraska Czech Brass Band today, you bet. On New Year's Eve, 1984, Steve played his first professional job with John Vitzik and the polka keynotes at the St. Paul, Nebraska American Legion. Steve performed with a number of polka and ballroom bands. They are as follows: Silburo and the Polka Gems, John Vitzik and the Polka Keynotes, Leo Lonnie, Tony's Polka Masters, Bob Blecka, Greg Blecka and Friends, Lou Husputka, Carl and the Country Dutchman, Matt Sledke, the Good Time Dutchman, Gary Bergen, Dean Hansen, Mark Villadol, Barry Boyce, Frank Kuska, Tommy Bishop, the Czechlanders, Alan Valish, American Czech Brass Band, the Nebraska Czech Brass Band, Frank Kazuka, Becky and the Ivanhoe Dutchman, Frank Kuchera, Bob Raby, Jim Botnicek, Kenny Shuda, Ron Natterly, Al Grivnick, and of course Nebraska's #1, Ernie Kuchera. On the ballroom side, Greg Spivak, Ron Natterly, and Jimmy B. Oh yeah, Steve was the only bass player to play in Jeff Janda's spot on the Brown Park Orchestra, as Jeff was unable to play the job. With that, Sonny, Jeff, you reminded him, didn't you? Sonny, would you induct Mr. Stephen Sobota into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
Steve, my pleasure to give this award to you for all the dedication, contributions, preservation of polka music. You've done a great job. Congratulations.
You know, in 30 years, Jim, this is the first time you've ever let me have a microphone. I don't know if that's good or bad. 40 years ago when I started piano lessons, I never would have thought, a day like this would have come, so I feel very honored. Thank yous to my mom, Jean. You want to stand up, Mom? She's out here with us. Fortunately, as Jim said, my dad passed away.
They were very instrumental in getting me started in music many years ago, taking me to the piano lessons. Again, thank yous also to the past inductees who have bestowed this honor upon me, and everyone with the SOCO organization and the committee for putting on this event. When Sonny first called me and told me of the results of the voting, it took a while for it to sink in. And you know, I've spent quite a bit of time since then reminiscing about the trips, the dances, and you know, the great friends and the memories. I can truly say I've been very fortunate and blessed in all the friends and the memories I've had over the years. As Jim mentioned, you know, my dad was very instrumental in me getting into playing the bass horn. Obviously, playing with the government orchestra, he had quite a background in bass playing, and I had, you know, many trips to many different dances that we went to over the years, always getting his direction on, yeah, you did okay with that, but you better hold off on that, that didn't work so well. And it was just, you know, it was great to have all the memories and time spent with him over the years. I was also fortunate to have many very understanding band leaders. First job that I ever played with Jim back in the mid-'80s was the result of Jim calling to, actually was going to have Dad play, and Dad was already booked, and he said, well, Steve can play one for you. Day came up, and I loaded everything up and headed into Omaha here from Columbus. Got to the Room Inn and set everything up, and I couldn't find the gooseneck or the mouthpiece in my horn. I was like, you know I had that. I was just totally sure. Tore my car apart twice, couldn't find it on the stage. I thought maybe one of these guys was trying to pull a fast one. Eventually Jim and Barry started playing without me, so I knew that wasn't the case. And in the era before cell phones, I was like, well, maybe I can try and find Rudy. So I drive all over Omaha, couldn't find Rudy. I think actually you guys were playing down here, and Rudy happened to not be playing that particular job. Anyhow, I ended up not being able to play the job, so Barry and Jim played a two-piece, and I packed up and drove all the way back out to Columbus. What I eventually found out was I'd had everything laid out on the sofa in the living room, and that happened to be cleaning afternoon, and my sister Christy had come through. I'd gotten down to where I just had that little bag left sitting there on the couch, and between me running something out to the car and coming back in, she picked it up, shoved it in a drawer on Mom's buffet, so I didn't even know it wasn't there. Jim was nice enough to pay my dad some gas money too, and found out several years later that I never did see a penny of that, but I'm sure Dad enjoyed it on whatever he spent it on. Again, as I said, I've been very fortunate over the years. I think sometimes Jim maybe missed his calling, as both Jeff and his wife and my wife and I met while playing on the band. Lynn filled in on piano with the Jimmy B up in Sioux City at Mr. Toon's Ballroom. And I was like, Jim, who's that? It was not too bad from back here. Of course, she was kind of impressed. She always tells me that she turned around to give me a thumbs up when we did a polka set. And I had the light turned off and my eyes were closed, so I don't know what I was doing, but she was impressed enough that she liked me. You know, again, it's you know, this is all about the memories. You know, the opportunity has been great. I don't want to take up a whole lot more time because I know Jim's kind of said quite a bit for everyone here. But thanks again to everyone that helped put this on. I'm going to go ahead and let them get on with the ceremony. And again, thank you very much. I do appreciate this.
Jeffrey David Janda was born on April 26, 1965 in Omaha, Nebraska. His parents are Michael J. and Joyce Yakopek Janda. Would they please stand up? They're here somewhere. Right there. There they are. And his wife, Cheryl Janda. They live in Omaha. Cheryl, please stand up. They have 4 children, Emily, Stephen, Peter, and Anna. Where are the children at? Oh, there they are, right back there. Stand up, kids. There's the Janda clan. Jeff attended Assumption Catholic Grade School in Brown Park, Omaha, and Creighton Prep High School, graduating in 1983. He then attended Creighton University, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a major in accounting degree in December of 1987. In 1978, at age 13, Jeff got a tuba and began taking private lessons from none other than Rudy Dvorak, and also played in the Assumption School Band. In high school at Creighton Prep, he was a member of the band under the direction of Doug Johnson. While in high school, he took private lessons under tuba greats Randy Lava and Craig Fuller, two people who worked for the Omaha Symphony, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff was selected to be in the Nebraska All-State Band in 1982 and 83, as well as the Nebraska Wesleyan Honor Band 82 and 83, 1982 and 83. Jeff played his first professional job right here at Sokol Auditorium with Frankie Remar and his orchestra on May 12, 1979. The list of bands that he was a regular on stage includes Tom Kuhnhart, 1979 to 1980, Charlie Schwagera and the Professors, 1979 to 1980, Frank Kazuka from 1980 to 1984, the German Old Time Band, 1980 to the late 1990s, Jim Botnicek from 1984 to 1987, Omaha Czech Brass Band, 1986 to the late 1990s, Barry Boyce from 1987 to 2005, Jeff Janda and the Brown Park Orchestra, 1987 to the late 1990s, the Janik Family Band, 1994 to present, the Nebraska Czech Brass Band, 2005 to present, the Troubadours, 2010 to present, and Leo Lani Orchestra, 2015 to present. Since that first professional job in 1979, Jeff has performed with the following bands: George Folan, Rich Novak and the Jolly Yanks, Lucille Whitmus, Reynold Voida, Dwayne Stetlick, Tommy Bishop, Ron Natterney, Frank Rimar, Chuck Skokin, Dean Hansen, Mark Villadol, Vern Luddington, Dick Janik, Mike Kretschka, American Czech Brass Band, Ernie Kuchera, Frank Kushka and the Boys, Matt Sletke, Mustache Joe, the Young Czechs, Lonnie Lynn, and Frank Kushka and the Jolly Yanks. Vlasta Kresik, the Polka Queen of Chicago, he performed with her. Eddie Svoboda and the Red Raven Orchestra, Bob Bleck and the Bouncy Czechs, Johnny Armburst and the Polka Kings. Highlight of the years of playing was the trip with the Omaha Czech Brass Band to Czechoslovakia in 1987. He has traveled to Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, Texas, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Saskatchewan, Canada, to play jobs mostly with the Jim Botnicek Orchestra. Jeff is in discussing his life and musical career points to the first job he played for Jim Botnicek in Verdigris, Nebraska on June 2nd, 1984, meeting a young trumpet player named Cheryl, who 10 years later became his wife. With that, Sonny, would you induct Jeffrey Janda into the Sokol Omaha Polka Hall of Fame?
Jeff, I want to present this award to you for all your dedication, your hard work, your good bass playing. I know you're a great bass player, but preservation of polka music, that's what it's all about, and you've done it. Congratulations.
I have a few notes here. boy, some of that stuff that Jim said, I didn't even know myself. I don't know where he gets that stuff. And you know that list of bands that he read? The thing he didn't tell you is, most of them, they only called me to play once. And I don't really know why. When Sonny called me to tell me I had been selected for this honor, I told him that really can't be because I'm not old enough. And he promptly assured me that I really was. Which made me kind of think, you know, the guy who wrote the Beer Barrel Polka, Jaromir Vojevoda, he has a recurring theme in a lot of his songs. It's about, he's lamenting the fleeting days of his youth. And one of his pieces is, where are those days of youth, in English, you know, and it starts out, let those bohem nam dava, says smutnia różowy sun. I won't sing anymore, but in English, the first part is, summer gives us a send-off with the fading of the rose garden, and today I realize that I'm no longer so young. It's been a beautiful story, although the moments continually tick away. Then I cry because I realize it's always just been a dream. Well, I have to say the last 36 years of doing this stuff has been, for me, a real dream. Through my musical endeavors, I've had the opportunity to pursue a pastime that I really, really enjoy. I found a wonderful wife that came with a great family of in-laws. I've met great friends and other musicians and the many dancers I've come to know. And together we've all had some great adventures. I wish there were a few that I could tell you about. Maybe that's for another time. The music's always been in my heart, my mind, my blood, for as long as I'm able to remember. I didn't come from a musical family in that no one played musical instruments, but my grandparents, both sets, had a devotion to this great music, and it was always played in their homes. It was my dad that first suggested I take up the tuba, and my folks and grandparents encouraged me. Rudy Dvorak, he showed me how to blow the damn thing. And after 2 weeks, I sat in with the basement 3 at Avorka's Brown Park Tavern and played a Night in May waltz, and it was touch and go. The next thing I knew, I was 14 years old and playing full jobs with polka bands in the beer joints of Brown Park, Krotke's and Avorka's. And then a few years later, I was playing regularly with Frank Azuka. Then, as Jim Botnicek mentioned, there was that fateful night in 1984 when I filled in with his band in Verdigris at the Collage days. And that's when I first met Cheryl Janik, the cute blonde trumpet player with a great sense of pitch and a great personality to which I was instantly drawn. No one in the band really knew me, and when Cheryl asked her sister Sandy who would be playing bass that evening, I've heard that Sandy replied, "Oh, it's Uncle Frank's goofy bass player." Then, the following week, Jim called me and asked me to join his band regularly. I told him, absolutely. Then, I had to take my band vests and go over to Frank Azuka's house to submit my resignation. When I got there, he was on the roof, doing some work, and he really wasn't interested in coming down to listen to my story, so I had to yell it up to him. He wasn't very happy, but he got over it when Frank's brother-in-law, Dick Janik Sr., told him, "Don't be so upset. The real reason Jeff went with Botnicek was because he really, really liked Cheryl." Jim, I hate to tell you that, but there might be something to that. As I mentioned earlier, I was really honored to be part of Rudy Dvorak's recreation of his dad's Omaha Czech brass band. And I also thoroughly enjoyed the 14 or so years we had Jeff Janda and the Brown Park Orchestra together, a group which Dean Fornoff typically described as a runaway stagecoach. You never really knew what was going to happen. The problem was, at times there were 7 band leaders, and at other times there were no band leaders. This great group was a cooperative effort of all the guys in the band, our very talented friend and my co-conspirator, Rudy Dvorak, and Dean Fornoff, Arnie Putler, Helmut Putler, Paul Metalshek, and John Poole. They were the Brown Fork Orchestra from our first job together until the last. And I thank all of these great friends for the good times and music we shared in those years. It's really exciting to receive this honor at the same time as my dear old friend, Francis Metalshek. We played together with Frank Azuka's band in the 1980s, and as a 16-year-old, I picked Frank up for jobs and deliver him back home afterwards. I got to hear all of his stories of playing with Golden Craig in the 1930s, about using megaphones for singing and announcing before microphones. I'm truly humbled to be included in this group with the likes of guys like Frank Metalshek and Cheryl's grandpa, Pete Yannock, who regularly played more jobs in a year than I've played in the last 10, and they kept at it for 60 years. Or Johnny Swoboda, who had 500 accordion students a week going through his accordion studios, or as Paul talked about, Father Cheperon, who composed over 50 marches and had his 46-member St. Wenceslas band. It's been great working with and getting to know all the guys I've looked up to. Our friends who are gone, Greg Troyan, Stanley Kuchera, Joe Sinkula, Dwayne Stellick, Ernie Kuchera. Just read the list, I wouldn't want to miss anybody. These guys paved the way, I just enjoyed myself. In closing, congratulations to Steve and Lou and members of the Kushik and Metalshek families here today. I'd like to thank Cheryl and the kids, my folks Mike and Joyce, and my father-in-law Ken for their support and encouragement. And to all the band leaders and hall operators who hired me, to all the dancers who supported the bands. I'm truly grateful to be selected for this honor by the other members of the Sokol Polka Hall of Fame. And I thank the directors and members of Sokol Omaha for continuing to sponsor this event for over 40 years. I have nothing else to say but thank you.
Well, that concludes it, folks. I want to thank, first of all of you for coming out and supporting this event. This is an annual event. We're really pleased that you could come and celebrate this evening for all the inductees and past inductees. I also want to thank all the past inductees for coming. The Milligan Czech Brass Band, once again, for coming and playing such great music, and Ken Yannock and his Nebraska Czech Brass Band, who will continue to play the rest of the evening for you folks. But keep in mind, this music, like they say, is our culture. We want to keep the music going. I'm glad to see some young people here in the audience. We need the younger generation to continue with this music. So, folks, when you go to a dance, take your grandkids or your kids along. I know they're busy, but I'll tell you what, if we don't keep this thing alive, it will die on the vine. I keep beating the drum. I want the younger generation to like this music. It's a real challenge, but let's continue to do that. And congratulations to all the inductees. Let's give them all a big hand, folks. I also want to thank my co-fighter here, Mr. Jim Botnichek. All the work he's done, he does a great job. Let's give Jim a big hand. We got some free cake, right? Where's the free cake at? Right here in the corner? Yeah, free cake, so feel free to get up. We're clear of the floor of the chairs, and we'll get back to music. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.